Okay, good evening. My name is Rachel Armstrong, and I'm a director at We Are Experience. We've got offices both here in New York and also in London. We're a leading global design service consultancy, and we put the customer at the heart of everything we do. Today, I want to talk to you about how we created behavioural and organisation change for the police. Policing in London is created by the Metropolitan Police. They're also known as the Met. And they're the largest force in the UK and also one of the biggest in the world. So if I was to ask you what's your view or what's created your view of policing today, you might say things like CSI or Dexter or 24 or the Minority Report, but actually the reality is a lot different. And today I want to show you a snapshot of actually what it's like to work at the Metropolitan Police in their words.
Who would want to do the job? Yeah, you're fighting crime and helping victims. It's just sometimes it feels the other way around. The job is being spat on by the people you're arresting, and sometimes the people you're helping. Turning up when no one else will. Being left holding the baby, or the casualty, or the inmate. The job is being slaughtered in the media for the mistakes of a few of us, amongst, 50,000? Being attacked for doing too much stop and search, and too little. You're supposed to leave the job in the locker. Yeah, right. It becomes how you see the world. Their job. That car's job. North Face, jeans, Timberlands, he's definitely job. It can be action and adrenaline. But it's 2% excitement, 98% routine. But if no one did this or that job, no one could do the job. It's too much paperwork, too much no realistic prospect of conviction, and too much being called out because someone won't share the TV remote. The job is why you missed your kid's school nativity and your soon-to-be ex's birthday. The job can be comedy. It's the London no one else knows. Sights no one else sees. The job is growing a thick skin and wearing a stab vest over the top. It's suspecting anyone you meet, but trusting everyone you work with. The job is for some what you live for. And for 3 officers last year, what they died for. The job is going to war on the gangs and the thugs and the thieves, and that feels good. The job is hearing a victim's relief when officers arrive. It's stopping things happening, and because they don't happen, no one knows how bad it would have been. Except other old Bill, who'd rather rip it out of you than pat you on the back, and you do the same, and it's a laugh, and that's the job. But despite all the danger, and the distrust, despite all you have to see and do without, those who do it wouldn't want to do any other job than the job.
So as you've seen and heard, it's a very complex organisation. They're under immense pressure, and they have diminishing budgets year on year. In fact, they've got an initiative to make a $1.5 billion cost saving by 2020. They're basically armed with a walkie-talkie and a multitude of different documents. Current reporting today relies on the officers to manually write crime reports and statements in these. If they need any evidence whatsoever, even a single photograph, they have to call a forensic team to physically come to the site to take it. And a reference number for a witness or a victim can take up to a day to create. And this is due to the fact that police officers today have to go home, back to the station after their shift and type in all of the notes that they've created that day. So what's the challenge? There's a massive skepticism in the police around how change is even possible. Their daily attitudes are accept nothing, believe no one, and question everything. And our challenge was to break down these organisation barriers and actually get the police force on a journey with us so that they could co-create the solution and actually be owners of change. We wanted to free them from the notebook and the station and provide them with a rapid and seamless digital solution. So how did we do it? We took all of their constraints and looked at them as virtues. We broke down something very, very complex and tried to make it very simple. And in 6 weeks, we created a customer-centric approach. We actually observed officers, frontline officers, in their role and saw how they interface with victims and criminals, and then together co-created an ideal digital experience. We took them on a behavioural journey, not just a kind of platform or IT project. And all of the experiences we created these visual storyboards. And the one I want to talk to you through today is of a domestic violence case. So we created a new mobile system on an iPad. And what this allows is that all the crime reporting and statements can now be done in real time at the scene. They can then be packaged, digitally signed, and then they can be passed on to the justice system. So everything they're collating from the first moment that they're in the car when they receive the call is actually recorded. They can now retrieve information on the suspects, so they can understand what crime types, what previous convictions they've had, and this actually makes the police officers a lot safer because they're more informed when they actually go to the scene. The app enables them also to get live CCTV, so they can get street views or helicopter views. If the suspect's on the move, they can track them immediately. And the officers can search for different locations or areas, so they can get a visibility of actually other disturbances or incidents that have previously occurred in the area. The tablet and iPhone now allows officers to capture video and photographs at the scene. And they can also screen share. So if they need the advice from forensic teams, they can do this and they can actually get there through remotely rather than having to actually attend the scene. And there's a visual aid and also voice-to-text translate as well. So if witnesses and victims, English isn't their first language, they're able to converse and actually create statements with the officers. And the app provides a seamless experience. So before, to find a cell, you had to make numerous phone calls across different boroughs, and now you can actually search space there and then. And by the time they actually get to the station, the custody officer already has all of the information needed, so they can pass and process that suspect immediately, and the frontline officers can then go back to the streets. So we worked with the Metropolitan Police not only to create these visual storyboards, but also to take those storyboards into a prototype. So we created both an interface and style guide and actually worked with their internal development teams to pilot this. But not only did we just create a vision, we actually mobilized that vision. So this footage here actually shows officers using the app in one of 23 boroughs within London. The pilot's been going now 6 months, and there's been about 14,000 reports created and about 60,000 reports received. And within the 6 months, now 90% of all crime reporting by frontline officers is now done digitally using this app. So what's the real impact and the real change this created? So we had a few case studies that some of our officers gave to us, and and I've just put 3 together to show you now. The first one was during a recent high-profile murder investigation, and the app was really, really essential because it created continuous communication between the staff that were working in the station, but also the police officers that were in the investigation. And the app ensured that we had a very smooth and efficient process and operation throughout. Another example here is there was a sexual offender case, and his information was actually sent directly to the aviation police. And the suspect was actually captured and arrested for rape before he tried to actually flee the UK. And finally, there was a World War II bomb recently discovered and found in London, in one of the boroughs. And they actually used this app to take a photograph of it and send it to the bomb disposal unit. So they were able to identify it and work out how to dispose of it before arriving at the scene. So we are continuously working with the Metropolitan Police to create all of their services, both internal and external. But we are experienced. We're not a big organisation. We don't conform, we challenge. And I really feel that if you put the customer in the room with you when you create the solution, you can make real behavioural change, no matter how big an organisation is, how diverse, or how technically advanced. Thank you. I think I might have a few questions. I've got time for a few questions if anybody's got anything to say, or you can grab me later. Okay. Oh, sorry.
Any numbers like efficiency increase, like after implementing this process, training involved for police officers?
Yeah, sure. So within the last, so basically it takes about, we've saved 10 minutes per statement they're actually creating, and they do about 360,000. So yeah, so actually within a year we've already saved about 2,200 man hours. So it's actually created a lot more of an efficient force. And people and customers want to see police officers on the streets, and we've enabled that to actually happen as well, because now they're not stuck in the station actually retyping everything up at the end of their shift. So that's been kind of one of the big numbers that's come out of the project. Thanks. Sure, go ahead.
Are the rules about appropriate times to use this app versus inappropriate times, such as driving?
Yeah. So at the moment they have an internal system that's in the actual response cars, and it's really poor. It's a legacy system. It doesn't have a lot of information on it. Normally there's 2 officers in the response cars, so one will actually, I've been around in the response cars as well doing the research for this project, which was fun. But basically the other officer will probably look and use the iPad and then just talk through the information. They're also always called into a call center as well, so they're able to actually look at the app from a central station and then talk through on the phones to get it. But it has been amazing, and it's been used in all cases. Sorry.
What happens next? Like, how do you pick which other neighborhoods or cities get this?
Okay, so it's been launched in Hammersmith and Fulham, which is one of the biggest boroughs in London, and there's an internal program now which is to do with the training as well, and they're actually training all the forces. Now they've actually used this, they can see real value in it, so it's actually getting kind of pulled out throughout the force, and more apps are actually going to get put on there as well. So.
Was there any thought about developing a new device or using something besides the iPad? At least watching the video, it seems that usability of typing with one finger on an iPad and the seeing might be a little bit challenging.
Sure. I think it's, crawl before you can run. And, they're all used to paper. There's so much paper in the force. It's unbelievable. And also what we did was the iPad actually gets around their legacy systems that they have. So they have a crime reporting information system, which is actually quite archaic back at the station. And this is, I think, the first generation of actually making digital change. And so I would love to see them all using, Google Glass and whatever in the future. But this is actually quite a big achievement in itself.
So obviously you probably are not on the scene watching and use this at all. So is it more of you pulling them in beforehand, asking what you see your optimal experience being, and then giving them a working prototype, and then afterwards you can bring them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the big messages with this project is that it doesn't need to take 6 years or 6 months even to try and actually create change. We actually did this within 6 weeks, and within that it was very customer centric. So we used the police officers at every single point within the process. So from the very, very beginning, when we were actually doing almost ethnography research, going out in situ in the response cars, going to people's homes, seeing how they interact with everybody, finding out all that insight and then translating that into designs. And then we co-created those visual storyboards with the police officers. And then after the prototype, we actually validated that. And we're still validating it now through the pilot.
How large was the team?
The team from us. Okay, so from our team, there was a team of 3 working on it with oversight of a director throughout the project. So we basically are a consultancy, so we have a mix of UX, insight and design, and that kind of specialism and consultative mix is really good across that. So it worked quite well with the research as well. Okay, thank you very much.